Hello, and in today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing the controversial film Lady Ballers, released by the Daily Wire. So sit back and relax as I jump into this review. Alright, so Lady Ballers, released by the Daily Wire. What Let me just say, I guess I'll start with, what is this movie about? There's this coach, and he used to be a big deal, but then like 15 years goes by, and he's not a big deal anymore. And he falls into this like position in life where he realizes that there's an easy path to success. And so he gets some of his old teammates from when he was popular, when he was a good coach, and they all slowly get on board to take this easy route. And there's a reason why I'm not saying what the easy route is. But then they start succeeding, and by the end of the movie, I don't want to spoil it, but, things change. And the ending, I think, is one of the big downer falls. I'll jump more into that later. If you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. I'm going to give this movie a score of a 6 out of 10. This, first off, it's a comedy. It's a straight up comedy. The reason it's a 6 out of 10 for me is, as most everybody has pointed out, it does feel like an older type of comedy. Where it's people doing something crazy, people doing something out of the norm, getting away with it, and that's where, this comedy comes from. It really felt to me like it was the kind of comedy that would sit somewhere between a not so great Adam Sandler movie, but just above, like, Basketballs. I've seen Basketballs a couple times, and it's about midway. So this is like above Basketballs, but below other Adam Sandler comedies that had probably a lower budget. Off the top of my head, things like I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, which we'll get back to, Happy Gilmore, those are better comedies. They'll make you laugh more. But if you've watched them a ton of times and you want something on that same level almost, then this is the movie for you to check out. And so I'm going to go through. I'm going to start with the cast. Jeremy Boring did a pretty good job. He kind of felt like a cross between, I think his name is Charlie Day from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Billy Bob Thornton. Uh, David Cohn, who just basically played himself. Uh, he sort of reminded me of like Elon Musk. Like if Elon Musk wasn't super rich and a jock, would be him. Daniel, who played Alex Cruz, he kind of reminded me a lot of Will Forte, I believe is the name of the actor. Of course, they did have tons of Daily Wire employees. Matt Walsh. I mean, if you've been a follower of this channel, you've heard me talk about Matt Walsh many times in the past. It was just weird to see him play in this movie because he plays such a different character than his real life persona on the Matt Walsh show. So I wish we could see more of Matt Walsh doing some acting because he did a pretty good job. I don't know if it's I would like to see Matt Walsh in some kind of like serious action movie. Something on the level of Die Hard or something. I think that would be his perfect movie, like the perfect thing to put him in. But yeah, I mean, as far as the actors, I mean, they all did a pretty good job. There were moments during the movie, it just felt like it was extremely low budget. Like, there was this pair of news anchors they kept cutting away to. And it felt very forced comedy there. That's one of those moments where it really felt like almost like a Saturday Night Live skit. But, I mean, they could have done a little bit better. Played it up a little bit more like real media, real journalists and stuff on the news. But they didn't. Trying to think what else. Oh, the runtime. The movie's almost 2 hours long. And if these kind of comedies, this is what probably brought the score down to a 6 for me, was the fact that it did feel long, and at some point I was kind of like, is the movie almost over? Because, like, come on already. I think they needed to, and I'm not the only person that has said this, but they definitely needed to cut it down like maybe a half hour. A good 90 minutes, instead of 2 hours would have been perfect. This is the type of story where you want to get in, deliver your punchline, deliver your joke, get your punchline through, and get out. I mean, that's why most of those comedies aren't that long. But they kept playing up, certain aspects, which I will talk about in spoilers. What else? The story overall was pretty good. I did enjoy the story, and I felt it had something to say. And yes, it was crystal clear, but you know what? Let's just go ahead and move into spoilers. So, this is it. Last chance. The movie's a 6 out of 10 for me. If you don't want spoilers, stop it here. Go watch the movie. It's on Daily Wire. With that said, let's go ahead and rip off the Band-Aid here. So, before watching this movie, I was watching people react to the trailer, and there was this one person who is clearly a leftist, and I'm not going to go into what a leftist is exactly. You should know if you're this far. Um, and he was like, "This is triggering to people? What?" And then he, at one point during his reaction of the trailer, he actually said that supposedly the Daily Wire claimed they were never going to make a movie that was political, that was politically driven. And to that I have to say, well, here's the catch-22 for you guys. If you can watch this movie and you get triggered, then clearly the topic being discussed, which mainly is transgenderism, clearly you know it's a political issue. You're claiming that it is political. And the reason I bring this up is because the main talking point for these people that are on the left, they constantly, all the time, they're saying, oh, it's not a political thing, it's a lifestyle thing. This is my lifestyle. You have to obey what I say because it's true. That you have to do what I say and call me what I want to be called because this is my life. You are endangering my life. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with me. But then, the second something like this movie comes out, it's, oh, well, it's politically driven. So you're admitting that the whole trans movement is basically a sham and it's all politically driven. Because, like, I can get a good laugh. And I do mean a good laugh. Off of some of these videos that I've watched of right-wing people, or people that would be considered right-wing, even though some of them started on the left, who have basically been coming out and pointing out the flaws in the logic that these left-wing people are presenting. Like, okay, I just heard one from Amala the other day, and I was watching one of her videos, and she was talking about it, and she's like, it makes no sense, because you put trans people as part of the gay community. So which is it? Are they trans or are they gay? Because the two don't necessarily belong together. If a man is married to a woman, okay, and he transitions into a woman, well, that woman's not a lesbian, so she's going to leave. So now that man/woman has to go out and find a man to be with. So which is it? Is he, if he's gay, if he belongs in the group of gay people, then that means he's not really a woman. And you are admitting that he's not ever really going to be a woman and that he's actually gay. Or is he a cis, the straight, because he is a woman now and he's with a man? So which is it? And she was pointing this out, and I started laughing because it was so funny. I was like, holy, I never thought of that. You know? That was perfect. That completely destroys why they should be in there. And if you're going the route of, which this movie actually does point out, you know, if the man who became a woman is still into women, so he's a lesbian now? I don't think lesbians would be okay with that. You know, because genetically, he's still a man. He's been raised like a man. He thinks like a man. He's still going to have, no matter how many drugs he takes, just because he cut off a few body parts doesn't make him a woman. And that was something that was stressed deeply in the Matt Walsh special, which is something else I will talk about here in a second. But that was deeply stressed in the Matt Walsh special, What is a Woman? Now, one minor issue I do have with the movie, and it's very minor, aside from having every single person at the Daily Wire in on the joke playing in the movie at some point, they do actually sometimes completely halt the movie to either deliver a joke or shove in a sponsorship of their own stuff. Like, they talk about the His Her chocolate bars. They talk about Jeremy's razors. At one point, they actually have a character flat out ask the question, what is a woman? You know, these are all, I mean, you could say these are all Easter eggs for the Daily Wire, which is fine. You know, like, they actually show the He's Hers bars at one point in the movie, and if that's all they had done, but then later they had to actually talk about it, say something about it. And it's like, okay, now you're going a little far. There's one point where when they bring up Jeremy's razors, they full on stop the movie, basically have the cast running an ad talking about the razors like you'd see on one of the Daily Wire things. So that really was immersion breaking, and I wish they hadn't have done that, but that's what brings it down to feeling like basketballs for me. So, moving on, like I said, the entire movie is about the transgender movement and how ridiculous it is that men are being allowed to compete in women's sports, and this is that easy path to success until, for some reason, at the very end, one of the people behind it, one of the journalists that's sort of behind it, she sets it up so another team is just like, you know, the main team. It's a group of guys pretending to be girls. And it really loses me at the end, because then, like, they kind of go and say, oh, well, this is wrong, we shouldn't be doing this. And they bring in these little girls, like literally like 7 and 8-year-olds. And they have them playing against the big team of guys. And the big team of guys, that's sort of the enemy here, they start playing basketball with these little children. And you think, okay, well, they're giving the little girls the win? Maybe? I don't know. I sort of lost focus on what all they were trying to say at this point. But then it was all just to be a joke, like, oh no, they crushed them still, you know. Those little girls only scored 6 points, and they had like 345 points or something like that. I don't even know if that number is even a realistic number in basketball. So, but anyways, the thing is, before I go, I just want to say, the movie is doing quite well. It is getting rave reviews from the fans. Critics, from what I hear, a lot of critics are refusing to even acknowledge the film. And if they do acknowledge the film, they are grading it very lowly out of spite. Here's the thing. Going back to what that guy said about the Daily Wire, said they weren't ever going to make anything political. Well, that's because this is a political thing. And I'll admit it. Yes, it's a political move. But you know what? It's also a very smart move because nobody else is making this kind of movie. That's like everybody keeps walking down the street. There's a pile of gold sitting in the road. Nobody's touching it. They're all walking around it. And you get mad when somebody walks up and says, "Oh, I'm going to take some of this gold." You know? Nobody in Hollywood is making this movie. When normally, in a regular, when things used to be somewhat normal, 5 companies would have hit on this and taken off with making some version of their own movie. Hell, even Adam Sandler made a movie like this. I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry was basically similar to this. Adam's friend is about to lose his insurance, and Adam Sandler is a womanizing man who sleeps with like a different woman each week. And his friend is a single dad who lost his wife, I think, to cancer or something. But because he's not married anymore, because he doesn't have a relationship with a woman because he doesn't have time, something I can relate to, they're going to pull his medical insurance for his family. And so they come to find out that there's a loophole. So he begs Adam Sandler, who's his best friend, to marry him. That they only have to fake being married because gay marriage isn't going to be challenged. And he can keep his benefits, and Adam Sandler can go about his normal life, you know. And the company, they keep making it harder because now they want proof. They want evidence. They want the receipts. They believe it's a scam, and they're going to try to prove it. Well, that's where the comedy comes from. And that is very on the nose for like something like this. It's very relatable. It's almost like you could put these 2 movies back to back. And nobody had a problem with making a movie like that. So, but now they suddenly have a problem with this kind of movie being made now. Like I said in past videos, you cannot make some of the movies that used to be made anymore because people will freak out. And that's really where the Daily Wire is incredibly intelligent, because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, well, you can't make movies like that anymore." Well, why not? Who said? People want this kind of comedy. You've actually made it more profitable to make more and more of these comedies than ever before. And that's where their intelligence is far beyond, because they're going to do it. They have the money, they have the support, they have everything they need. They don't need blessing from the government to make this movie. They can just make this movie and release it. They even have their own platform. So, of course they're going to release a movie like this. And, I mean, yeah, the Daily Wire has made some really good stuff. I think it was called Run, Hide, Fight. That was a great movie. I'm sure they have some other stuff I haven't quite checked out yet. What is a Woman was a fantastic documentary. I watched it a couple times. And I love watching people react to it. That's actually funnier than this movie. is watching people react to what is a woman. So, Daily Wire, keep doing what you're doing. Next time, like I said, in my personal opinion, and I think others' opinions, maybe in a comedy, pull back a little bit. Make it more realistic. I definitely felt the biggest negatives that brought this down had nothing to do with the story, nothing to do with the messaging. It just had to do with the budget. It felt low budget, kind of like basketball, and it felt very long for what it needed to be. It needed to get in there to make a joke, deliver the joke, deliver the punchline, and get out. 90 minutes should have been perfect for that. First 30 minutes, you deliver the joke. Next 30 minutes, you cook and sell the joke. Last 30 minutes, you deliver the punchline, you're done. Boom. Move on. I don't know where I'm really gonna say I don't think this will get a sequel. I don't think it needs a sequel. I do hope we get some other kind of comedies. Like I said, I want to see the Daily Wire make an action movie starring Matt Walsh as the lead. I don't know what this movie would look like, but I think something like that would be really good. So that's going to go ahead and wrap up this review. If you've seen Lady Ballers, please let me know your thoughts down in the comment below. What would you rate this? I mean, be honest. I'm not saying this is the greatest film ever. I'm not even saying this is mediocre. I mean, this is slightly above average for me. It's definitely not gross and disgusting comedy. They did know when to pull away and not make it gross and disgusting. This is something you could actually watch around kids because, like, there's no nudity. There's maybe a little bit of language. And it might help deprogram some children out there, because that's where they're getting the children. And they make a point to say it in the movie that this stuff is being taught to kids in school. And that's where the big drawback comes in. This is where parents, you need to pay attention to this because some of this is actually true. Which is what makes this funny because of the fact that some of this is true. Are some of their jokes too obvious? Yes, but that's the point. So, like I said, I'm going to wrap this up. If you haven't, please check out our content. Me and Cora have a lot of movie reviews we do together. I'm going to be doing some more movie reviews like this where stuff I don't watch with Cora, stuff I watch on my own, I'll be reviewing it myself. So, alright, with all that said, I will see you all in the next video. Bye.